Welcome back to the channel. My name is M, and today we are going to discuss whether or not the 5.7 liter Hemi platform is a solid foundation to build upon. So we are about to logically evaluate the platform and decide whether it's worth building or not. I already know my answer, and I want you to leave yours in the comment section at the end of the video. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into it. The 5.7 liter Hemi platform is an underestimated platform with plenty of room to grow. The 5.7 liter Hemi engine picks up nice power from mods, but there's more to it. You see, the 5.7 liter Hemi engine, as well as the drivetrain, is Chrysler's entry-level V8 platform. Due to the platform being a more budget-friendly entry-level option, the camshaft is much more mild than the rest of the Gen 3 Hemis. Instead of getting SRT shorty headers, they utilize exhaust manifolds, and most 5.7 liter Hemi-powered vehicles come with an open differential. From factory, the pre-Eagle 5.7 liter Hemi engines made around 340 horsepower and 390 foot-pounds of torque. These engines were manufactured between 2003 and 2008. In 2009, the 5.7 liter Hemi was redesigned with better flowing heads and variable valve timing. These engines make around 390 horsepower and 400 foot-pounds of torque. And I would like to mention that the power numbers that I just gave you can vary. The Dodge Ram and the Chrysler 300 do not have the same exact power level. No matter if it's the same year and everything, that 5.7 liter Hemi in the Ram has a different intake manifold, different tuning, and has a different amount of power. So you have to keep these things in mind. The power will vary. Now, with all this being said, that leaves quite a bit of room for improvement. Let's start by discussing how you can take that pre-Eagle 5.7 liter Hemi engine and make improvements for it to flow on par with an Eagle engine. With a simple head swap to 2009 and up Eagle 5.7 liter Hemi heads, or by utilizing 6.1 liter heads, you can achieve the same flow numbers and up compression on your 5.7 liter Hemi. And this cylinder head swap can net you right around 40 horsepower and put you on par with that Eagle 5.7 liter Hemi. When talking about building upon the 5.7 liter Hemi platform, that extra compression, power, and efficiency is most definitely important. If you're interested in swapping to either one of the cylinder heads, I have videos on each one of those subjects and a video comparing the Eagle and 6.1 liter cylinder heads. So if you're considering a head swap for your pre-Eagle 5.7 liter Hemi, go ahead and check those videos out. Now let's go ahead and jump into some more improvements that can be made for both of these engines. The camshaft swap alone can net you 80 or more horsepower, with some camshafts netting over 110 horsepower. Swapping those exhaust manifolds for a pair of headers can net you 15 to 40 horsepower depending on the supporting modifications, which headers you run, and whether you are tuned or not. Without a tune, you will feel a difference, but you need a tune to maximize power gains. And an intake manifold swap can net you 15 to 20 wheel horsepower and 20 to 30 foot-pounds of torque. With a camshaft, intake, and exhaust modifications, you are typically left right around the 400 wheel range. And with all that being said, and these improvements being able to be made and power picked up, these 5.7 liter Hemis also handle boost like a champ. These 5.7 liter Hemi engines love boost and can reliably make 6 to 8 pounds for years on end. So no matter if you want to go cam and bolt-ons, cam and boost, boost alone, or some other combination, the 5.7 liter Hemi engine is a fantastic platform. But there's more to talk about. Don't think I'm concluding the video yet. There's one more shortcoming from factory that we haven't spoken about, and that's the rear end. The open differentials that come in these vehicles leaves a lot of room to grow and a lot to be desired. Cornering, handling, launching, and sliding can all be improved by a limited slip differential. And the launching translates to better 0 to 60 times, 1/8 mile times, and 1/4 mile times as well. And that's just talking about the limited slip differential aspect, not the gearing whatsoever. For example, the 282 differential in my car has been converted to a limited slip differential. However, there is a lot more to be desired with the gear ratio due to torque multiplication. A higher numerical gear or shorter gear ratio would allow for quicker acceleration. So, to quickly explain, it's all about torque multiplication. The torque output of your engine is multiplied by the gear ratio. So the 282 differential that I have, the drive shaft rotates 2.82 times per 1 revolution of those rear wheels. The differentials in the Chrysler 300 SRT8 that has a 306 gear ratio, the drive shaft in those vehicles turns 3.06 times per 1 rotation of the rear tires. So what does this mean? It's a higher multiplier. It means that the 306 geared car is going to get down the road faster if there is the same power output. So basically, the higher numerical gear has higher torque multiplication, quicker acceleration, shorter gearing, but you give up top speed and vice versa. So if you were to swap in a 306, 309, 390, or any of these other differentials, you would be able to accelerate quicker even at the same power level. So it's not just the traction aspect, it's also the gearing. But lucky for you, the 5.7 liter Hemi platform is great to modify due to the fact that, these Gen 3 Hemi vehicles are like Legos. You can use a differential from any other Gen 3 Hemi powered vehicle practically. You just have to make sure you have the right components to make it work. And that may consist of getting new CV axles and hubs because they're a different spline, or you might have to get a whole new drive shaft. It all depends. And I would like to mention there are some 5.7 liter Hemi powered vehicles that can just take a differential, install it, and it's plug and play. They have the same spline CV axles, and it works out for them. So make sure to do your research, but this is most definitely a point of growth for the platform. And aside from everything we just talked about, there's more to discuss. Let's go ahead and discuss the bottom end. The bottom end, the stock rotating assembly, has been taking over 1,000 horsepower with a stress test documented by Richard Holdner. Let's go ahead and roll the clip.
Let's take a look and see what happened when we ran our turbo. First, we obviously ran it at various different boost levels. Here's what happened when we added 10.4 pounds of boost. The power output jumped to, where are we at here? 872 horsepower. And peak torque out here was 755 foot-pounds of torque. We weren't done there. Obviously, we kept going up and up in boost, and eventually got up near 20 pounds, 19.8 PSI on this, again, stock short block with ring gap. So here's where we got to. We got to over 1,100 horsepower, 1,120 horsepower. And peak torque checked in at 993 foot-pounds of torque. I was pretty conservative on the tune on this thing because, again, I was concerned about the weak piston because, the internet tells us that those are definitely weak and they're definitely going to break. So we did run this thing, obviously, on race gas. We ran a 118 Rocket brand race gas, and we had the intercooler on it. And here's where we got to. But as you can see, we stopped the run at about 6,200. And the reason for that is this thing started kind of huffing like a freight train. So we ended up hurting something. We actually ended up hurting a piston, but it broke in between the first and second ring, and it did not break the top crown of the ring where everyone says it's weak. Like I said, we had between 30 and 32 thousandths ring gap, so I don't think it was a ring gap problem, but it started getting really bad blow-by. So this is where we stopped. The motor was still running. It hadn't, blown itself to bits yet, but it was definitely done wanting to be turbocharged after this. So I think we might need to take a look at, a redo on the 5.7 liter Hemi and find out exactly what they'll take if we end up doing it right. So let's talk about right now. Let's talk a little bit about what it would take to do this thing right.
Okay guys, now it's time to talk about what went wrong and what I would change if I did this test again on the 5.7 liter Hemi. First of all, over 1,100 horsepower on the 5.7 Hemi was way more than I thought I'd even get to. I mean, everybody was telling me those things break at 7 pounds or 8 pounds or 10 pounds or whatever their number is. And the reality is, if everything is right, you can make a lot more power than people think. We found this out with the Honda and the big block Chevy and the 351 Windsor, even though I did that one wrong. Obviously with the LS stuff, there's a lot more power than that, especially if you add ring gap and then apply different power adders, the intake manifold, the heads, the camshaft, and then add boost the proper way. If the tune is right and you've got ring gap, you can make a lot of power. And we made over 1,100 horsepower with this 5.7 liter Hemi. But that doesn't mean that I did everything right. In fact, I absolutely did not. And here are the things that I would change. First of all, I ran an air-to-water intercooler, but I did not run the core that I normally run, because then if we can back up a little bit, I also ran a single turbo, which I think we were getting close to being maxed out on that turbo, certainly on the back pressure. And again, there's another problem. I didn't run back pressure measurements. I should have monitored the back pressure, and I would have saw that we were getting near the flow limit, certainly on the hot side of that single 78 or 70, 76, 75 turbo from Precision. It's a good turbo. We've made a lot of power with it, but that's about the maximum I think we could expect out of that thing, especially at that boost level and I'm sure the attending back pressure. So I should have ran 2 turbos. That's my first mistake. The Hemi definitely deserves that, and obviously it was on its way to make pretty decent power. So twin turbo is definitely a must. And with the twin turbos was the dual core intercore that I normally run on all of the Big Bang LS stuff on the big block. So 2 turbos, the right intercore, and then I should have run ice water like I normally do. When we're turning the boost up to 20 pounds or something, ice water not only makes everything safer, it also adds power. There are a lot of things that we could do to, I think, give the Hemi a much better shot at making a big power number before we actually hurt something on the piston. And that's exactly what we did on this combination. I ended up hurting a ringland when we took it apart. It was a bad ringland, but all I had to do was put another piston in, and we did that, and the thing still runs.
Aside from this stress test, numerous people have reliably made 600 to 700 horsepower with proper ring gap and tuning. And most notably, Modern Red Hemi took his 5.7 liter Hemi into the 9s on the stock rotating assembly. If you haven't seen Modern Red Hemi, go ahead and check out his channel, check out his content. He deserves recognition for what he has accomplished. He has put on for the 5.7 liter Hemi platform like no other. And aside from all of that, the factory block itself can handle over 1,000 horsepower reliably. So you drop a forged rotating assembly inside of one of these stock blocks, that motherfucker's gonna party. Being able to make over 1,000 horsepower consistently utilizing the stock 5.7 liter Hemi block speaks for itself. Modern Red Hemi, Richard Holdner, and plenty other people have made it blatantly clear that the 5.7 liter Hemi platform is great to build upon. All right, now that was a whole lot of good. Let's get to the bad. So the Pre-Eagle 5.7 liter Hemis are known for their valve seat issues. A valve seat may drop and it can be catastrophic. And don't get me wrong, it is a common misconception. It is not as prevalent as people make it out to be. And it is not only Pre-Eagle 5.7 liter Hemi heads. There have been Eagle as well as 6.1 liter Hemi heads that have experienced valve seat drop. So keep that in mind. Although there is no denying that it is more prevalent with the 5.7 liter Pre-Eagle engine. Aside from the valve seat issues, there are 2 more potential problems typically related to the Pre-Eagle platform. Valve spring snapping and valve spring retainers letting go. This can lead to your piston and your valve having an unforeseen meeting that ends very badly. These specific issues can be fixed by doing a simple head swap or reworking your cylinder heads. There are people that have the valve seats pinned. There are people who strengthen up the valve springs and retainers. There are numerous options to rework your Pre-Eagle heads. And again, you can do a Eagle cylinder head swap or a 6.1 liter cylinder head swap, as well as aftermarket heads. There are numerous options to take care of these issues. Another very minuscule problem that some people may bring up would be the mounting hardware for the exhaust manifolds possibly giving out. This is where some of the Hemi tick noise and conversation comes into play. Sometimes people will think, oh, that thing's got a Hemi tick. No, it's just got a really nasty exhaust leak because it is leaking between the head and the exhaust manifold that is hanging out. So this is an issue that you may come across if you're researching building one of these or buying one of these or anything of the sorts, but that is a simple fix. Stage 8 locking fasteners can go ahead and get you right. They have locking header bolts and they have had 0 reported failures since 1985, so you can feel secure running their product on your build. And when grabbing those locking fasteners, to make sure you don't have an exhaust leak, make sure to use code Underdog Builds to save yourself 10%. And finally, the most notorious problem of them all, the Hemi tick. The Hemi tick is a completely separate issue altogether that has to do with the lifters, and this is typically thought to be caused by a lack of lubrication at idle as well as during low RPM operation. Installing a high volume oil pump, which is either Melling or a Hellcat oil pump. You cannot install a Hellcat oil pump on a Pre-Eagle engine, so you'll have to go with Melling if you're Pre-Eagle. Either way, installing a high volume oil pump as well as limiting idle times is thought to be the best course of action for preventing the Hemi tick. At the end of the day, the 5.7 liter Hemi engine itself handles boost well, picks up great power with modification, and the platform as a whole leaves a lot of room to grow. With plenty of aftermarket support and the ability to use components from other Gen 3 Hemi powered vehicles, I think this platform is great to build upon. Plus, the 5.7 liter Hemi platform and these Mopar vehicles are easy to wrench on and easy to learn on. So if that is the situation you find yourself in, it is a great platform to start with. Now, I told y'all from the jump, I knew my opinion. I thought it was a great platform to build upon, especially seeing that I'm building upon it right now, and that's the choice that I already made. Do you agree with my stance that the 5.7 liter Hemi platform is a great platform to build upon, or do you have a varying opinion? Leave it in the comment section down below. And if you enjoyed the video, please drop a like. It lets YouTube know you're rocking with the video and it should push it to more people. Subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you have a great day. I'll catch you in the next one.